If it is truly God who brought you into office, and you begin to behave the way Rehoboam did, the way Nebuchadnezzar did, thinking you are invincible, you know what? God is able to smoke you out of office.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I hope you're well from wherever you're watching this channel. I'd like to start this session by appreciating you so much for making this channel grow. If you wish to support us, just subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. REUBEN Kigame has taken it upon himself to share a direct message to William Samoei Ruto. In the message that REUBEN Kigame unleashed, there are very sensitive details that REUBEN Kigame has pointed out in that statement in a bold move. Let me remind you that REUBEN Kigame comes from the Tutsi community, and he came here in Kenya during the Rwandan Revolution. And so he has been brought up here in Kenya and married here in Kenya and remarried here in Kenya. So REUBEN, being a former presidential candidate, has told William Samoei Ruto that we don't trust you. I want to share that bit where REUBEN Kigame tells William Ruto directly that we Kenyans don't trust you, that even if you say anything, we will no longer trust you. I want you to listen to this part.
Mr. President and your team, nobody has told you that the real problem you have is that Kenyans have lost trust in you. Kenyans have lost trust in government. You have friends around you that tell you everything is okay. But I want to tell you, we have lost trust in government. We don't believe you. We don't trust you. And there is nothing as bad as a trust deficit, a trust deficiency. Kutoaminika, hamuaminiki.
Yes, from that video, and it's self-explanatory. We don't trust you, hatukuamini. In other words, REUBEN Kigame has pointed out that there is money stashed in offshore account. Money that is stashed in offshore account. The government borrows money and then instead of looking for ways of finding out how to recover the stolen money, they resort to subjecting that burden to a common mwananchi. Those are not my words, ladies and gentlemen, but words of REUBEN Kigame, the former presidential candidate. REUBEN Kigame has gone further in his submissions and told William Samoei Ruto that the way you act, I mean, how you conduct yourself, how Rigathi Gachagua conducts himself, how you people address issues, you are merely posing for a dictatorship rule. I want to repeat again, those are not my words, but the words of REUBEN Kigame. He told William Samoei Ruto that you bought all the independent MPs, you bought Azimio MPs who are regarded as Tumbocrats. You bought all the members in the Senate and the National Assembly so that you can control all the bills that are being passed in the parliament, and because the speaker and the speaker of the two houses are both captured. So that means there is nothing that the opposition opposes that will be treated fairly in the parliament. I want to reiterate in this channel, ladies and gentlemen, that we've always said that the parliament is captured. There's a time there, I think about 3 months ago, I did an analysis here, and I was specific on the National Assembly Speaker, where I said that the Speaker has been captured. I talked about a puppet speaker. If you remember that video very well, I mentioned that there was the Speaker of the National Assembly is can be referred to as a puppet speaker. And then 2 days ago, I also brought in another example of a speaker that we've had here in Kenya, and I mentioned Kenneth Marende. And I compared Kenneth Marende with Moses Wetangula, and I told you how Kenneth Marende used to handle issues during the coalition government. Then I compared to Moses Wetangula, who does not do anything according to how he thinks should be done. He does things according to what William Ruto says. So Reuben Kigame has reminded William Ruto that you bought the parliament, you bought the Senate, so now you control the two houses. That is why you want to become a dictator. You are posing for a dictator. Not my words, ladies and gentlemen. I want to share this bit of that statement where Reuben Kigame says those words. Kindly listen to this part.
Hamwaminiki. When you say something, we don't believe you. When you promise, we know you will not fulfill. You have borrowed money on behalf of Kenyans without passing through parliament, and then we as Kenyans have got to pay for it. Mr. President, we don't trust you for that. So that even when you talk about housing, when you talk about this new bill, and it is all about more money, more taxes, more this and more that, we don't want to pay that money until the real questions are answered. Now, the first thing you need to do, Mr. President, and your team, is stop the economic hemorrhage. And Mr. President, it's not as if we are so naive to the schemes and the threats that you're issuing to your members of parliament. You are in control of parliament not because you had to, but because you bought the independent candidates, you bought some of the opposition candidates. In other words, you are posing for a dictator. You want to dictate things on us. You want us to do your bidding.
Yes. I'm just trying to break down this speech, or the speech by Reuben Kigame, where he mentioned issues to do with corruption, that this government borrowed money, and after borrowing money that was borrowed without even passing through the parliament, that is what Reuben Kigame said, and then they spend the money. Now they want people to be overtaxed so that they can clear this debt. Then Reuben Kigame has gone further to mention the issue of dictatorship, where he talks about William Ruto taking over the parliaments by buying the MPs from the opposition, the likes of Sabina Chege. They were bought. All the Jubilee MPs were bought. That's why you find that Jubilee is in turmoil. Reuben Kigame also talks about M-Pesa bishops. They have been warned not to give William Ruto and the team a platform to go to church, pretend that they are pretending to go to church to pray, whereas in actual sense what they do is simply insult the people in opposition. And this thing, we've talked about it quite a number of times when we talked about the weekly prayer rallies, even though these days now I think imeenda chini sana, the pressure of prayer rallies imeenda chini. But the fact here is that the M-Pesa bishops have been warned by Reuben Kigame not to give William Ruto, Gachagua and the team a platform to insult the opposition. That is a very, very important part, a very, very important part of this statement that Reuben Kigame has unleashed. Don't give them. And then, something that is very, very serious that I've found, from the statement, this part is what is so sensitive. And this part, Reuben Kigame talks about, we will force you out of that leadership position. He says that if at all it is true that you are God sent, like, Martha Koome said that the verdict that they delivered was a the ruling was God sent. It's a God sent ruling. That they didn't just say that, they didn't just throw away the petition of Raila Amolo Odinga and Azimio just like that. They said that God guided them to make that decision. So that's why Reuben Kigame is saying that if it's at all, it is true that God is the one who put you there, then God will dethrone you. He says that we will force you out of that, and we will not riot, according to Reuben Kigame. We will not riot, but we know how we will dethrone you. I know that is a bit shocking to listeners. Yes, it is. But again, I'm repeating that those are not my words, the words of Reuben Kigame. I want to share with you that part where Reuben Kigame makes those sensational remarks that we will force you out of that seat. Kindly listen into this part.
Enough. This is what will happen. You may actually succeed in making that bill go through because you'll coerce or pay or do whatever it is, the members of parliament, threaten them or something, and the bill will pass. Mr. President, you are only one person. We are 55 million. If you force things on us, we will force you out. And there are many ways to force you out. We don't even have to, do your customary things. You think about rioting, if it is truly God who brought you into office, and you begin to behave the way Rehoboam did, the way Nebuchadnezzar did, thinking you are invincible, you know what? God is able to smoke you out of office. We've said this thing to you in so many ways, but you don't seem to be listening. So I tell you once more, it doesn't have to be parliament and impeachment. It doesn't have to be riots. We trust in the same God you say you trust, and he can bring you down.
Yes. Allow me to give you this example because I want to justify why Reuben Kigame made those statements. You see, if I take you back to the story of Titanic, the ship that sank, it is said that it was built in a way that nobody would have thought that it would sink. It was like something that was just going to be there for eternity. The captain, when asked about that, he said that Titanic cannot sink. But what happened? They almost say that not even God can sink that Titanic. Those are not good words that they made there, but the captain made those remarks. What happened? The confusion about the weather forecast and the like, where the ship was in the deep sea, led to the sinking of that ship because the captain was confused. And you know that story. It is not a laughing matter, but what the captain said there, I can link it to the story of this Kenya Kwanza government, because when you listen to the two leaders, Gachagua and RUTO, when they make their statements, it is as if that there is nothing that can happen. They are the Alpha and Omega. Nothing can happen. That is what now Reuben Kigame says, that we will force you. If God put you there, then God will dethrone you from that seat. And when that time comes, you will realize that that seat is for the people and not for you. Words of Reuben Kigame, ladies and gentlemen. But I agree with Reuben Kigame because, it is possible for the people to make a decision that, look here, we are not going to allow you to continue being in that seat. The people can make that determination, can make that decision, even if CAMARGO servers are interfered with. But God has said that enough is enough. Then nothing will happen. Even if CAMARGO servers are interfered with, even if that algorithm is interfered with, even if it's inflated to which level, God can rein in his powers and cause confusion amongst these hackers, cause for confusion amongst this Venezuelan staffs of the SMARTMATEC company, to an extent that instead of them favoring one individual, that they maybe individual X, they find themselves favoring individual Y because God has said so. So that's why Reuben Kigame is saying that we can make you quit that seat. We have the capacity to do that as Kenyans. And if God gave you that position, then God can decide to take it away. So dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to hear what your takes are regarding what Reuben Kigame said, the statement that Reuben Kigame said. I want to hear what your takes are, what your observations are. Do you agree with Reuben Kigame? If so, can you tell us below the comment section? And also I'd like to urge you to stay safe, stay blessed until we catch up again in our next analysis.